All right, let's get right into it. We're going to tackle one of the biggest questions, maybe the biggest question humanity has ever asked. I mean, this question is the engine behind pretty much everything, right? Art, philosophy, religion, maybe even that one questionable haircut you got in high school. Yeah, we're talking about the search for meaning.
And really, when you strip everything else away, it all comes down to this one simple question. Is there a point to all of this? Are we just these incredibly complex, walking, talking accidents of biology? Or is there some grand purpose we're supposed to be figuring out? This isn't a new question, by the way. The greatest minds in history have been wrestling with this exact same thing for centuries. But here's what's so fascinating. The way we ask the question has totally changed. See, philosophers today make this really important distinction. They've kind of moved on from searching for one single cosmic meaning of life, some universal answer that fits everyone, to a much more personal search, a quest to discover and build all the different meanings in life. It sounds like a small change in wording, but trust me, it changes the entire game.
So, where do we start this whole journey? Well, let's go way back. We're starting in ancient Greece. Now, for the Greeks, meaning wasn't something you had to go out and invent from scratch. Nope, it was something you discovered. They saw the universe as this beautifully ordered, structured place, and our whole purpose was to figure out our proper place within that grand design.
And the word you absolutely need to know from this time is eudaimonia. It's Aristotle's big idea. Now, a lot of people translate it as happiness, but that's kind of misleading. It's not about just feeling good, like, hey, this is fun. It's way deeper. It's about being good, about doing good. The best way to think about it is human flourishing, that ultimate state you reach when you're living a life of excellence and virtue.
Okay, so how do you actually get there? Well, Aristotle basically gave us a blueprint. Step 1, figure out what makes us human. For him, the answer was clear, our ability to reason. Step 2, you gotta develop virtues. Things like courage, patience, generosity, and you practice them over and over until they're just second nature. But here's the trick. You have to find what he called the golden mean. It's all about balance. So courage isn't just the opposite of cowardice. It's the perfect sweet spot right between being a coward and, say, being totally reckless. And the final piece? You have to live it. A meaningful life for Aristotle isn't about sitting around thinking. It's a life of constant, virtuous action. Now, Aristotle's whole plan is great, as long as things are going your way, right? But what happens when they don't? When life throws you a curveball and luck just isn't on your side? Well, for that, we turn to the Stoics. They had this incredibly powerful tool, and it's called the dichotomy of control. It's a really simple idea on the surface, but it's so profound. Basically, the secret to a good life is to pour all your energy into the things you can actually control and learn to accept the rest.
Just take a look at how this breaks down. On one side, you have all the stuff that's outside your control. Your reputation, what other people think, even your health. I mean, you can influence it, but you can't totally control it. And the Stoics would say that worrying about any of that stuff is just wasted energy. But on the other side, that's what you always control. Your thoughts, your choices, your actions. And for a Stoic, that is where you find meaning. It's all about building and mastering your own inner fortress. Okay, let's hit the fast forward button. We're jumping way past the Roman Empire, through the Middle Ages, and landing right in the Enlightenment. And this is where things get really shaken up. The rise of science starts to chip away at those old foundations. All of a sudden, the universe doesn't seem like this neat, divinely ordered place anymore. And the burden of finding meaning, it shifts dramatically. It's no longer out there in the cosmos. It's right here, on our own shoulders.
And nobody, I mean nobody, captured this massive crisis better than Friedrich Nietzsche. You've probably heard his famous line, "God is dead." But here's the thing people miss. He wasn't celebrating. He was sounding an alarm. He was diagnosing this huge cultural shift. The entire religious and moral framework that had propped up Western civilization for centuries was collapsing. And his biggest fear? That without it, we'd all just spiral into nihilism, that terrifying, empty belief that nothing matters and life has no value at all. But Nietzsche wasn't one to just sit back and despair. Oh no. His solution was, well, it was radical. He said to avoid that void of nihilism, we have to become what he called the Übermensch, the overman. This is a person who has the guts to just shatter all the old hand-me-down values and create their own. And more than that, to embrace their fate completely. He called it amor fati, which means loving everything that happens to you, the good and the bad, because it's all a part of your life's great work. And this wild idea that it's all on us,
that we are the ones who create our own meaning. That became the central obsession for the existentialists in the 20th century. You've got thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, who basically took Nietzsche's challenge and ran with it. They were asking, okay, if there's no pre-written script for our lives, what does it actually mean to live a real, authentic life?
Sartre had this really great, simple way of explaining his main point. Think about a letter opener. Its purpose, its whole essence, is figured out before anyone even makes it. But for us humans, it's the complete opposite. We just show up first, we exist, and then, through every single choice we make, every action we take, we define our own essence. That's what he meant by his famous phrase, existence precedes essence. You are literally the author of your own life story. But here's the catch. Sartre would say this freedom, it's not some fun, breezy thing. It's a huge, almost terrifying responsibility. He actually said we are condemned to be free. There are no excuses, no one else to blame. If you try to pretend you don't have a choice, blaming your job, your past, your personality, he calls that living in bad faith. It's basically lying to yourself, running away from the awesome power you actually have to shape your own life.
Now, Albert Camus, who was kind of a friend and rival to Sartre, he took a slightly different angle. He looked at the human condition and called it the absurd. And what he meant by that is this fundamental conflict we all live with. On one hand, we have this deep, desperate need for meaning and answers. And on the other hand, you have a universe that is just silently indifferent. It's like we're shouting our biggest questions into the cosmos, and all we get back is silence. And you can really see the difference between them here. Sartre is all about you must create meaning. But Camus says, look, you can't find some grand inherent meaning, so you have to revolt against that fact. You live in defiance of this absurd situation. You find joy not in some destination, but in the struggle itself. His famous example is the myth of Sisyphus, the guy doomed to push a boulder up a hill forever, only to have it roll back down. Camus says our job is to imagine Sisyphus happy, finding meaning in the pointless task itself.
Okay, so everything we've talked about so far has been very Western. It's all about this individual struggle, right? But what if there's a different way to look at all this? Let's shift gears and head east, where the focus tends to be more on harmony and connection. The Japanese concept of Ikigai gives us a totally different kind of map for finding our purpose, one that's a lot more structured and practical.
So what is Ikigai? Well, it literally translates to a reason for being. And what's so refreshing about it is that, unlike that big, heavy, agonizing search for meaning we just saw in the West, your Ikigai can be something small and humble. It's just the reason you get up in the morning. It could be your job, sure, but it could also be your family, your community, or even just your passion for taking care of your garden.
This is a really popular way of visualizing it, breaking Ikigai down into 4 overlapping circles. You've got what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. And your Ikigai, it's that magic spot right in the center where all 4 of those things come together. It's basically a road map for aligning what drives you on the inside with what you do out in the world.
Okay, wow, we've been on quite a whirlwind tour here. So where does that leave us? Is meaning something we discover, like the ancient Greeks thought? Or is it something we have to create from scratch, like the existentialist said? Is it out there in the world, or is it just in our heads? Well, it seems like the most compelling answer today is, it's a bit of both. It's a hybrid. And this quote really gets to the heart of it. It's originally from Nietzsche, but it was made famous by Viktor Frankl. Now, Frankl was a psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust, and he wrote about this incredible thing he observed in the concentration camps. He saw that the people most likely to survive weren't necessarily the strongest physically. They were the ones who had a why, a reason to keep going. Maybe it was a loved one they hoped to see again, or a book they needed to finish. He called this the will to meaning, and he argued it's the most powerful force in a human life. And the philosopher Susan Wolf gives us this really elegant modern formula. She says a meaningful life needs 2 key ingredients. First, you need subjective passion. You have to be actively engaged in something you love. But, and this is a big but, that's not enough on its own. That passion also has to be directed at something with objective worth, something that's bigger than just you. Meaning, she says, happens right there at the intersection, where what you love doing also contributes something valuable to the world.
So if you take away just one thing from this whole journey, from Aristotle all the way to today, let it be this. Meaning isn't something you find. It's not like stumbling upon a hidden treasure. It's something you build. You build it piece by piece with every single choice you make, every day. Meaning isn't a thing you have, it's a thing you do. And that leaves us with one final and pretty intense thought experiment from Nietzsche. It's called eternal recurrence. Imagine, right now, someone tells you that you have to relive your entire life, including this exact day, this exact moment, over and over and over again for eternity. Every joy, every pain, every mistake. Would that news feel like a crushing curse, or would you be thrilled? It's a powerful question because it forces us to ask ourselves right now, am I building a life that I'd actually want to live again?